This is episode 66 of the After Gambling podcast. And in this episode, we're going to discuss 9 key differences between online gambling and retail or land-based gambling. And I'll also be sharing 8 key quotes that someone who hasn't gambled in now almost 6 months uses daily in their recovery. Hey there, and welcome to the After Gambling podcast. My name is Jamie. I'm a former problem gambler. Now I haven't gambled in nearly 10 years, coming up really close on 10 years. I'm real excited about that. And I do this little podcast to help other people, help people that want to quit gambling. And today is a really cool episode because the source of today's information comes from one of those people, somebody that has kind of taken me up on listening to this podcast, applied some of the things that they've learned in their life, and I'm sure have done many other things as well, but now are coming up on nearly 6 months without gambling. So first of all, I want to say congrats and thank you to Melanie. You're doing awesome. I'm really proud of you. I love that you reach out and kind of keep me up to date with your progress. And most of all, I'm really appreciative of the content for today because this stuff is great stuff. And these topics were submitted by Melanie. They're her thoughts. I'm just going to kind of run down through them, add some of my thoughts on top of them. But she really kind of lays out some really important key differences that exist between online and retail gambling. She reached out to me with concern, and she said, you know what, I'd love for you to do an episode on online gambling because with COVID-19 happening, I'm really concerned that there are going to be a lot of people that transition online and they're not going to understand some of those key differences. And not only are some of the problem gamblers maybe going to get worse, but she also said, and I kind of agree, that a lot of just kind of your typical gambler that would go to the casino, quote unquote, normal gamblers that don't experience harm, as they move online, it's a different product, even if the games are the same. And it may push them into a point where now all of a sudden they're experiencing harm for the first time. And I think she's spot on with this. I think there are big differences, and this has been confirmed. People in the industry or people that cover the industry. I just had a great conversation with Steve Ruddick, who was one of my first guests on the show, and he brought this point up. He said, I think the different products, online versus retail, land-based, they're different products. When the games are the same, they need to be regulated differently because they are different animals. This, again, keeps popping up, so I think it's a really important thing that we discuss, and especially in the time of coronavirus where casinos were shut down, now they're opening back up, but it's definitely going to move towards more things going online. So today we're going to talk about those 9 key differences between online and retail gambling, and then stay tuned to the end when I'm going to give you Melanie's 8 quotes or thoughts that she has used that she points to as being things that have really helped her to get to now almost 6 months without gambling. So again, congrats, Melanie. Thanks again. And keep messaging me with your updates. So number 1 on this list are ads. Now, you know, I'm a marketer and advertiser. So at first I'm thinking ads. And she said, there's just so many ads online. And the more I think about it, I mean, it makes sense. If nothing else, advertising online, as a marketer, I know that you can be much more specific and dialed in with your advertising, and it's focused on behaviors. So while you can use a tracking card for people that go to the casinos to send them mailers and those other things, maybe you don't have as much information about them, or maybe it doesn't happen as quickly. And I'm not sure if this is one that we're just more aware of it because we're playing online and all of a sudden you see the ads and they're online as well. I think there could be some of that. But I also think that, yeah, I mean, when we visit websites, I mean, we see it with everything in all of our lives. You go on and you look at a pair of shoes on Zappos and all of a sudden that brand of shoes is on every ad, on every website and it's just following you around the internet. And casinos are no different. I mean, it's just another product that's being advertised. And so it sort of feels like it's following you around. And that was one of the first things she said is when she was playing online, all of a sudden she started noticing all the ads. And there's just so many ads. And I think this is something to think about and be mindful of it. As you start to play online, you're going to be exposed to those ads more frequently. If nothing else, I mean, as you're spending that time playing online, the time surrounding it is also online. So you're going to be exposed to more ads. So that was number 1, that you just see so many ads. The second difference between online and land-based casinos is the extended playtime. And this is a really important thing to think about. I mean, if you have 6 hours in your day, but you don't have to drive to the casino. She said most of the time when she went to the casino, it was an hour away. So you had that deterrent in place already, which was, hey, am I going to invest an hour there and an hour back in order to go and gamble? Both online, she didn't have that. She didn't have that in between drive. And so you had this extended playtime where all of a sudden 4 hours of free time was 4 hours of gambling time, not 2 hours of gambling time. And the more that you gamble, obviously, the more that you're likely to lose. I mean, the odds are what the odds are. The longer you play these games, the more likely you are to lose. That's just how math works. So I think this is a very important point that Melanie points out, which is that when we have the games and it's just online and it's right at our fingertips, this extended play time is something that we don't even think about. It's just, but all of a sudden now we're doubling or tripling our time, or even if it's just adding an extra hour, if it's 30 minutes away of playtime, which is something that if we're not aware of, it can add up over time. All of a sudden now we've spent an extra day over the course of a month or 6 months or a year gambling when normally we wouldn't have been. So this is one of those ones, especially as people that transition from land-based online, something they may not even think about. So it's an important thing to keep in mind. The third thing that Melanie points out as being different online is the ability to overdraw accounts. Probably, I imagine she's talking about credit card accounts. And I know I had this experience as well, which was I had a credit card that only had maybe $65 of available credit. But somehow between the relay between the credit card company and the gambling operator, I was able to add $800 in $200 increments 4 times before the card became declined. So I was able to lose $800 I didn't have. That was overdrawn. I was going to have $40 fees on top of the fact that I didn't have the money anyways. And as she points out, like ATMs at casinos, I mean, they'll only let you take out what you have. And I think this is one of those things that I don't know if this is something that's getting fixed or worked on, but I know I definitely experienced it. It sounds like Melanie has as well. So that ability to overdraw accounts online, which isn't there at a land-based casino, is a really important differentiating point. And she even says, like, when you're at a casino, it's even a deterrent. You can get a cash advance, but it's a pain. You have to go up and go through all the exercises to do it. And it's just not as easy as it is online to overdraw your accounts or to get yourself into situations where you're overextended on credit cards, on your ATM card, whatever it may be. So again, number 3, just the ability to overdraw accounts. The fourth thing Melanie points out are that the bonus structures seem to be different online than they are in casinos. And I imagine a lot of this, I'm actually not sure where Melanie's located. I think it's here in the United States. It's probably due to, I mean, it's a very competitive market. And so people are coming in and online, they're offering these big sign-up bonuses, which you have to turn over that money 300 times, 500 times, whatever it is, a lot, in order to release those bonuses. But there seem to be, as she said, higher dollar amounts of bonuses being offered online than she's ever seen at land-based casinos. And I'll kind of just trust her on this one. It sort of makes sense, just what I've observed. I'm not as familiar, so I can't comment too much. But yeah, it does make sense that online you're going to have lower overhead, and it is just you're trying to get people in the door. And the long-term value, the lifetime value of that customer is so high that you can offer a significant sign-up bonus online that you wouldn't necessarily do at a land-based casino where you have more overhead. So number 4 was that the bonus structures are different. The fifth one, and this is one that I think is huge, is just the sheer number of options available online versus in physical, we'll call it quote unquote real life, right? If you drive to, even in Las Vegas, you're at one of the casinos, it takes you a little bit of time and effort to go from one to the next, to the next, to the next. I mean, if you went down the strip to go to all the casinos, I mean, that would take you all day, I imagine, if you could even do it. They're so spread out, or they're just such big properties that it's a lot of work to go from one blackjack table to the next, to the next. But online, it's just switching the app. Close down this app, open this app. It's as fast as going from Facebook to Twitter. And so you can jump from site to site. And so if your credit card doesn't work at one, you can go try it at the next one. If your bonus structure runs out at one, you can go try and jump on the next one. And so this ability to jump from site to site at just warp speed, I mean, it's basically like time traveling in World, is one of those things that is definitely a concern of mine. And Melanie brings up, and it's a great point to consider, that just the sheer number of options online make it to be a completely different animal than a land-based retail casino. That moves us along to number 6. Number 6 is one that has actually, I think, just recently is being addressed in the United Kingdom, and that's reverse withdrawals. Online casinos have long been known. I mean, the big gripe is they'll take your money instantly, and then it takes forever to pay it out. I remember back in the days of early party poker when the money came in and out. I mean, it was almost in one day, and I mean, you withdraw and it was in your bank account almost the next day, I believe. But over time, there became more and more things. And it's like, okay, hey, you want your money? Well, I need your ID. I need a passport. I need you to sign this document. And so there are all these different, I guess, hoops you had to jump through. But the biggest one was the ability to reverse a withdrawal, because the money, as you're waiting, just sits there. And for a problem gambler, and probably any gambler, it's like that enticing thing just sitting there. I know there were many times I'd have $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 set up and say, like, I'm cashing this out. I'm gonna leave $500, $1,000 in to play with, right? I was trying to be responsible, trying to do the safer gambling stuff. I wish I could have just locked it up and not had the option to reverse it, because I was in my right mind at that moment and said, hey, this is money you need. Make sure that you get this money out of there. Even if it takes 3 or 4 days or a week, whatever it is, don't play with this money. I was trying to act responsible, but that ability to just quickly hit a couple buttons and say, yeah, I'm sure I want to reverse this withdrawal, and all of a sudden the money's back in play, was one of those things that it is much different online than it is in a casino. Now, sure, I mean, if you have your money, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from putting it right back on the table in the casino. However, it is so much easier to just go to the cage and all of a sudden you have the money, you have that hard cash in your hand, and you're like, all right, put this in this pocket or give it to a friend. Some kind of system in place to protect you from spending it. That the ability to kind of cash it out quickly helps in land-based retail casinos, and it's just not there online. So that's just one of those big differences, is this ability to reverse a withdrawal is something that is a huge difference between retail and online gambling. Number 7 on our list, and this is one that probably will come up, and this kind of bleeds into some of the others, is just convenience. As Melanie said, I mean, you can just play in your pajamas. You can play while you're sitting on the couch. I mean, you hear stories about, guys going to the bathroom, or ladies going to the bathroom to place their bets so that their spouse doesn't know. And that convenience, the ability to just kind of quickly get in and out, keeps it so that you're always sort of gambling, right? Like you have no breaks away, because you can just go on and in the convenience of the available time, click, bet. And there's just a lot of damage that can be done when you have something that's that convenient to you. I know there were plenty of nights in college and even beyond that I would have loved to go to the liquor store and grab more beer or grab more of whatever I was drinking that night. But it wasn't a good idea. And having that distance, or having them being shut down, was something that was a positive thing for me, that I wasn't in my right mind. And so those protections, that lack of convenience, not just being able to click my fingers and have whatever I wanted in my hand, was definitely one of those safety measures that protected me against myself. And I see that a lot with online gambling. The sheer convenience of it, the ability to do it while you're laying in bed with your spouse, while you're doing anything. I mean, you can be at church and gambling. You can be at work and gambling. You can be at the ball game and gambling. You can be at your kid's dance recital and gambling. I just don't know that that's a good thing. Next up on our list, number 8, is that a lot of online gambling is done alone. And I really like this point. It's something that it ties into a lot of different things. First of all, when you're alone, you don't necessarily have that cooling off period. I mean, when there are times if I went bust at the poker table, I had to get up and physically leave the table, walk to my car, get out before I acted a fool, if nothing else. And not that I didn't act a fool, but having that cooling off period was important. And I think when you're doing it all alone, the isolation is always one of the worst things. You're not around other people. And I think that's already a sign of problem gambling in many cases, is that you're not doing it socially. As she said, I mean, otherwise, like when she would go to the casino, it'd be with friends and they'd want to go get a drink or they'd want to go get dinner. They'd want to leave. So you had other people around you to help you make good decisions. But when you're alone, it's just you, and you can make some really bad decisions, and you can make those bad decisions quickly. There just isn't that cooling off period. And there's also not the shame. In a lot of ways, I think shame helps us. It allows us to act in a way that doesn't embarrass ourselves, that aligns with what we want to do with our lives and the way we want to act. And even going back to the overdraws, there was a shame with running a credit card that gets declined in person that there just isn't when you're alone. I mean, you can just run it and it's like, all right, well, that one's declined. Next. You don't have that interaction, that community feeling, or I don't know what the best way to describe it is, just having other people around you. I mean, judgment. I mean, it's a lot based on judgment. You're afraid of what they're going to think or say about you, even when it's a complete stranger. But when you're doing it alone, you don't have that deterrent in place. And I think that's a big issue. So the fact that we gamble a lot alone when we're problem gamblers, whether it's at retail or online, but online just makes it so much easier to gamble alone. And that's one of those dangerous things that whether you're already a problem gambler, it can make things worse, or whether you're just kind of again, I'll use the air quotes, normal gambler, again, can accelerate things as you're starting to do these things in isolation. And then number 9 on our list, and I'm sure Melanie would have many more, but I love this list, and thanks again, is that you don't have physical, real dollars or even chips. Now, chips, we've talked about chips before. That, I mean, part of the reason is it's psychology, that you get chips and you don't necessarily associate that the same way as you do cash. But I think even having chips in your hand feels different than just seeing numbers on a screen. I mean, I know even with my bank account now, you look at it, it's just, it's a number on a screen. If you had that money in actual cash, you would feel completely different about it in hand. I mean, I know there's studies with how people will spend more money with credit cards than they will with cash because they actually physically have to do that. And it's painful to turn over $100 for an item with physical cash versus just sliding it and seeing that number of $100. Our minds don't have those things equal, even though they are. So not having the physical cash on you makes it so much different. And this kind of plays in also. We talked about reverse withdrawals. You can have those physical chips. Melanie pointed out you can throw those couple of chips in your pocket or give them to a friend and say, hey, hold on to these. Like, I want this to be my winnings. Not having that, not being able to separate those is one of those things that's a big difference between online and retail gambling. And again, it just becomes numbers on a screen. All of a sudden, the $5 bet becomes $500 and it all feels the same because you don't have that tie in. In often cases, you don't feel that until it's gone. And then you're like, wow, that was actually $4,000, not just something on the screen that was $4,000. So not having physical money, I think it is a big difference between online and retail gambling. And I'm sure at this point you've been shaking your head along. So again, thanks, Melanie, for those 9 key differences between online and retail gambling. They're definitely things that we need to think about, whether it's regulation or just how we deal with our own personal lives, realizing that these things are not the same. And so if you're not gambling, use these as further deterrent to realize that if you start gambling online because you don't have any other form of entertainment and it's like, well, I guess a $5 bet won't hurt me. The reality is that the $5 bet online is completely different. And in many cases, has a lot more dangerous side things going on than the one would if you were at your local casino. So keep those things in mind. If you're listening to this, obviously the best approach is 100% commitment. Just don't gamble. It makes your life a whole lot easier. It keeps getting better and better when you don't. But again, sometimes it's important. We have these little draws or these thoughts, well, I'll get that bonus. And so realizing that there's a reason those bonus structures are higher. You got to turn that money over a whole bunch of times, and almost never do you actually get that money back out. Hopefully this will either further cement your thoughts or it will help to address some of those lingering questions in your head. Or if you're listening to this or you know somebody that's just kind of a normal gambler and they start gambling online, these are some talking points that you can use with them to say, hey, I see you're going and it doesn't seem like you're having problems, but keep these things in mind because you're starting to deal with a completely different product once you go online. And Melanie used a great word, actually, when she was describing one of these. She called it an accelerant. And I think that's so true. Like, online is just an accelerant, or can be an accelerant of harm. It's kind of like pouring gasoline on the fire, right? The fire is already sort of burning. These things, the convenience, the extended playtime, the bonus structures, the ability to overdraw, doing it alone, not having physical money, they each act and on their own are very powerful, but together they act as this big accelerant that can lead to harm at a much faster rate and at much greater amounts, physical amounts and just kind of life amounts. And now, as promised, before I let you go for today, I want to give you these 8 quotes that Melanie says stick out in her head from listening to the episodes and doing other things in her recovery. And these are the things that are really helping her. So hopefully these will help reinforce some of these thoughts with you, where you can kind of keep this part, record this part, save this part, and come back to it when you start to get some thoughts in your mind that you want to address. So the first one that she points out is that wins are just future losses. All right, we always talk about how you win the money and it just adds to what you lose in the future. So that's one of the mantras or quotes that really sticks out and has helped her to remind herself that she doesn't want to gamble anymore. So wins are just future losses. Number 2, and I like this one a lot. I can't gamble because I can't win. I can't win because I can't stop. That's so much is kind of like playing that full story out, right? Like we convince ourselves that we can win at gambling, but if we can't stop, we can never win. So I think this is a great quote that she pulled out. Number 3, the money you have lost is the price you pay to finally quit. And this one was one of those ones. I did the episode on how I finally just kind of came to terms with the money that I lost. And I started looking at it no longer as money lost, but money invested. It was a price I paid to get to a point where I could live a better life. And I'd learned so many different things from having gone through that experience. So I really, really like that one. All right, 4th one on this list. Pain is a powerful catalyst to change. Pain is a powerful catalyst to change. It's amazing how pain is one of those things that drives us to make improvements in our lives. And so I think when we try to avoid the pain, we don't get that growth. But when we really accept it and address it, that's when we really start to change a lot. So I love that one. Next one, the number one thing I need to do in recovery is remember the pain without revisiting it. And, if you've listened to episodes of this podcast, this has been my biggest thing is I try to remember all the pain and suffering by listening to other people's stories or going back there in my head without actually having to relive it by going and gambling and experiencing it firsthand. Remember the pain without reliving it or revisiting it. The 6th one on Melanie's list is we're not responsible for our first thought, but we are responsible for our first action. I really like this one. She separates thoughts from actions. It's one of those things that we can't control our thoughts, but we are fully in control of our actions. So keep that in mind. Not responsible for your first thought, but we are responsible for our first action. And now number 7, Melanie's list of mantras or quotes. You drown not by falling into a river, but by staying submerged in it. I've never heard this one. It really is a cool visual. I like things that are very visual. And it is true. Like, just because you fall in the river doesn't mean you're going to drown. You drown because you stay there. So it's kind of the going back and staying within gambling is what causes you to drown. So no matter how bad things get, I'm proof. There are plenty of people that are proof that we've been in the river and it didn't look good. It looked like we were going to drown, but we've made it out. And it's part of just that we didn't stay submerged in it. So that's a good one. And then number 8, and this is actually probably 7B or 1B if you want to look at it. She says, it's worth repeating. Wins are just future losses. And she has it in all caps. And it's so true. Just remember that any win you have is just a future loss. If you need to, go listen to the episode about infinite games versus finite games. You can't win at gambling unless you stop. And so all of your wins just become a future loss. hopefully this has been good for you. This has been extremely fun for me to kind of almost take an episode off, right? So if anybody else, you want to throw out some other ideas, the next few, I actually had solicited some ideas online. So I have some Twitter questions that I'll answer in the next few episodes. But if you have some other things that are helping you, or things that you see in the world that you look and you say, hey, just like Melanie did, I see people moving online and I think it's dangerous. I want them to understand why I think it is. Write that up, send it to me, email me, tweet it at me, whatever you want to do. DMs, I get DMs on pretty much all the platforms. Shoot it to me. I'd love to hear your input. If you want to stay anonymous, you can stay anonymous. But again, this is one of those ways that we can all kind of pitch in and help each other out. So thanks again, Melanie. Congrats. You're absolutely killing it. Keep up the great work. Yeah, this has been awesome. So thank you. Now remember, Melanie and I, we're not doctors, we're not lawyers, we're not therapists, we're not any of those things with letters before or after our name. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know what Melanie does. Maybe she is one of those things. But for the purpose of this, just use the information to help better your life. But seriously, go get professional help. You deserve it. It's important. This is a serious condition. And if nothing else, there's no reason you need to do it alone. Number 8, we do things alone, and that's what gets us in trouble. So find somebody that can help you and get that professional help that you need. And finally, remember, music for the show is Something Elated by Broke for Free and is licensed under the Creative Commons license. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Melanie. Thanks for listening, and I will see you all in the next episode.